Welcome to the Life and Times of JC Otero, episode 17. I'm never going to be a tech dinosaur. So it's now 5 o'clock. My last video was at like 6 a.m. this morning. Took about an 11-hour break, a couple naps. Tried to. I still feel pretty groggy from last night's shoot. Now I only have about 7 hours, less than 7 hours to get 17 videos made. So I got to do this, and I got dinner here at 6:15 with my mom-in-law, and wife. So probably it's going to be cutting it tight. I think I can do it. So I got to keep these a little bit shorter now just to kind of hit my goal. But this particular episode, I'm never going to be a tech dinosaur. Um, with the advancement of technology now taking place, just, having to keep up with everything. Especially like in the workplace, sometimes you work with some people that are older and might not get things. They might be like much older, and so kind of like looking ahead, it's like, man, well, someday I'm going to be older, and someday I might not be as on it with technology. So that got me thinking, like, I'm fortunate to have been born when I was, which was in '84, and kind of the older spectrum of millennials. And at that time, it comes up in conversation every once in a while. Like just remembering how things were when we were growing up. Like I mentioned cassette tapes in a previous episode. Some people are like, what are cassette tapes? Probably CDs, right? I remember like coming across some 8 tracks that weren't mine, but they were just kind of just like in storage, kind of lingered. But in school, I remember like at least in first grade, we had computer class and we had those Macintoshes that were like real boxy and like green screens and stuff like that. And we had floppy disks, and it's kind of like right before the time where like hard disks came out, the smaller, more hard plastic ones. So I've seen like the whole evolution from like floppy disks to hard disks to CDs to flash drives and now cloud technologies, and even being well versed into it, having worked with Dell and other technology companies. But it's just really fascinating to have been able to experience all that. I could imagine what it'd be if I was like much older when all those changes were taking place, like even like smart or cell phones. Like I remember my uncle having the big kind of gray cell phone, and then he eventually got the flip phone. When that came out, it was like a satellite phone. I remember him always talking about how expensive it was. He had like pagers, and Michael was like always about um, having like the coolest technology. I remember he bought like laser discs. Those are like the giant CDs that were going to replace CDs because the video quality was that much better. And the CD player that played it was like this big ass tray that would like come out. Like it was maybe like 5 times bigger than a normal CD. That technology clearly didn't win out. But it was just cool, just checking all that stuff out. I remember high-end electronics store in San Antonio called Bjorn's that Mike used to go to, and that's where all the latest stuff was at. So I've always been exposed to it, and because of my uncle and Michael, who was like my uncle, they always kind of like provided me a means to have access to that. I remember being a little kid, and maybe for one of my birthdays, I got this little red kind of like laptop that would help with like spelling and reading and stuff. And that was really cool. And then eventually they got me an actual computer and bought me all types of educational computer games, and kind of really made sure that I was, set up for future success. Maybe I didn't realize it at the time, but in retrospect, I think having access to all that was really powerful. Even like video game systems. Like I remember like every Christmas for like so many years, like one year my brother got Nintendo, and I remember going to go buy that with my mom and aunt at Target. I think it was Target we ended up getting. No, it was Kmart. We got it at Kmart, and it was $99. I remember seeing it at the end aisle, the Nintendo, the NES system. It came with the shooting gun and the dual Mario and Duck Hunt. That was so awesome. And we used to play Tecmo Bowl and Double Dragon and Contra and all types of amazing games. And nowadays you have dozens of those Nintendo games and like a controller that you can just plug into your TV, which I want to get one of those just to kind of pass the time sometimes as a distraction. But had that, Super NES, Nintendo 64. I was a Nintendo guy, but then I got a PlayStation, and that was really awesome. And then in college, I got the Xbox, and then I tried to mod it, and then the guy that did it messed it up and just ruined it, and that was the last system I ever got. Tempted to get one now, but other technologies, like I mentioned, the smartphone or the phone, and then I was one of the first people I knew to get a smartphone in 2007, and I remember being like highly addicted to it, and everyone, was making fun of me, like, man, you're always on your phone, and blah blah blah. And I was like one of the only people that had one, and then gradually people started getting them, and I started everyone becoming zombies. I don't know if it was because I was one of the earlier users use that, pretty much for a while. Like now, I don't feel like I use it as much as some people. Like it's really kind of scary, and laws are changing in terms of driving and stuff like that. And people are getting in accidents just walking because everyone's just consumed by their phones. I mean, although this is like an extremely powerful tool, we have to kind of regulate its addiction and stuff like that. And that's one problem with technology. But I'm really excited to be alive at this time, to be able to experience everything taking place, like especially like in medicine and energy and transportation and um, everything. It's a technological revolution that's just exponentially getting more and more advanced as time goes by. And 10 years from now, with me living to 117, it's going to be pretty crazy what's going to be like. And then just looking back on my life and going through all the technology phases and everything, it reminds me to disconnect sometimes and value like human interaction, because I think that's one thing that's happening with all the proliferation of technology, is that we're just being desensitized to like human relations and things like that, and it's causing a lot of people to be unhappy. For FOMO, fear of missing out, and everyone kind of making their life appear better than it actually is, just for acceptance. I think just everyone wants to be accepted, so don't let technology own you. Like, make it you own technology. So there's that really. So takeaway is I'm always going to just try and be up to speed on things and always learning and adapting things, because the last thing I want to do is like when I'm older and I have to ask like how do I use that, or being ignorant to the sense where like I don't even want to learn how to do something. Like I see people like that, and there's people that want to learn too. Like I'm involved with a program where I go out and I work with a senior citizen, and I show them how to use a Chromebook, touch screen, audio, teach them how to search stuff, whatever they like to do. And seeing the face light up. Same thing with kids. Like I've helped introduce like a tech conference for young girls of color at risk, low income youth, and introducing them to like STEM careers and technologies, and connecting them with mentors and coding camps and things like that. And so we've been doing that several years through some of the organization I work with. And I'll have that in other episodes, but just with technology, embrace it. Like don't push it away. It's something that could be definitely very powerful. So don't become a tech dinosaur.